Good day to each and every one of us. My name is Crystal Maricir Ruiz and I am one of the reporters of the Group 2. In behalf of my group mates, I want to invite you all to watch and listen to our video discussion all about philosophical views and theories of special and inclusive education. Before we proceed to our main discussion, let me first discuss to you our learning objectives. So by the end of this lesson, the students will be able to: number 1, define special and inclusive education; number 2, understand the philosophical views of special and inclusive education; and number 3, identify the different theories behind special and inclusive education. Special education. The term special need education, or SNE, has come into use as replacement for the term special education. It was based on the assumption that children with disability had some special needs that could not be met in mainstream schools, and therefore they need to study in separate school with other children having similar needs. Moreover, the concept of special need education extends beyond those may be included in handicapped categories to cover those who are failing in school for a wide variety of other reasons. It is an educational program or service designed to meet the needs of children with special needs who cannot profit from general or regular education because of disabilities or exceptional abilities. Inclusive education. All students attend and are welcomed by their neighborhood schools in age-appropriate, regular classes and are supported to learn, contribute, and participate in all aspects of the life of the school. Different and varied pupils learning side by side in the same classroom is what inclusive education entails. They like going on field trips and participating in after-school activities together. They are both involved in student government. They also attend the same sporting events and games. Diversity and the unique contributions that each student makes to the classroom are valued in inclusive education. Every youngster feels secure and welcome in truly inclusive environment. Students and their parents help to create learning objectives and make decisions that influence them. And school personnel are trained, supported, flexible, and equipped to nurture, encourage, and react to the needs of all pupils. The goal of an inclusive education system is provide all the students with the most appropriate learning environments and opportunities for them to best achieve their potential. By Alberta Education 2010. Let us now proceed to the philosophies of special and inclusive education. Philosophical foundation of special and inclusive education. All the efforts to uphold dignity and the rights of the children primary root from the philosophical understanding of a man. Number 1. Children with disabilities. They should have the rights as normal children do. They must not be isolated nor looked down. They must also be treated as persons with dignity, and their needs should be provided.
Good day, everyone. I am Once Aiko, and I am going to discuss the topic of theories of special and inclusive education. But first, we will be tackling the theories of special education. As you can remember, we have this classroom diversity. Each of us has different abilities and talents. We have different ways in digesting the knowledge for us to learn. And here are the various theories that applies to special education that the teachers will be using to help their students learn effectively and retain in the class despite of their condition. First theory is Gestalt theory. Gestalt means as a whole or a total composition. This is applicable for special students for them to be able to connect their experience to comprehend the stimuli. Second one is connection theory. According to Edward Thorndike, learning is a result of association forming between the stimuli and response. Example for this theory was from Thorndike's. in which a cat learning to escape from puzzle box by pressing a lever inside box. This theory, the connection theory, it allows us to explain what we see and to figure what result we will be receiving. And this also applies in the classroom, that if a student does something wrong, he will be punished for it, and it learns him to avoid doing it again because punishment causes him pain. Third one is aptitude treatment interaction. This theory examines how an outcome depends on the match between individual specific aptitude and the treatment they receive. When the treatment was exactly matched to the aptitudes of the learner, the effect would be optimal. But highly structured treatments seem to help students with low ability, yet hinder with the higher ones. Next is component display theory. This theory classifies two dimensions: the content, which involves facts, concepts, procedures, and principles. And the second dimension is the performance, which includes remembering, using, and generalities. Yes. And this theory specifies that instruction are more effective to the students because good instructions determines a good outcome of the learner. And also, according to this theory, the component display theory, it would have the following minimum components: the objectives, generality, instance, generality, practice, instance, practice, feedback, and elaborations. Next one is conditions of learning. Again, each of the individuals, me and you, have different learning process, which basically different instruction is required but for different learning outcomes. And here are the 8 instructional events stated in conditions of learning theory. First is gain attention, identify objective, recall prior learning, guide learning, elicit performance, provide feedback, assess performance, and enhance retention or transfer.
Cognitive load theory by John Sweller. This theory suggests that learning happens best under conditions that are aligned with human cognitive architecture. Specific recommendations relative to the design of instructional material include increase working memory capacity by using auditory as well as visual information under conditions when both sources of information are essential or non-redundant to understanding. Example: in combining an illustration of the blood flow through the heart with text and labels, the separation of the text from the illustration forces the learner to look back and forth between the specified parts of the illustration and the text. If the diagram is self-explanatory, research data indicates that processing the text unnecessarily increases working memory load. Another learning theory that acquires special education is the sign learning theory. According to E. Tolman,
An organism learns by pursuing science to a goal, or learning is acquired through meaningful behavior. Learning is always purposive and goal directed. Example: much of Tolman's research was done in the context of place learning. In the most famous experiments, one group of rats was placed at a random starting location in a maze, but food was always in the same location. Another group of rats had the food placed in different locations, which always required exactly the same pattern of turns from the starting location. The group that had the food in the same location performed much better than the other group, supposedly demonstrating that they had learned location rather than a specific sequence of turns. Next part would be theories of inclusive education. And here are some of the learning theories that apply to inclusive education. Behaviorism-based inclusive education practice, cognitive-based inclusive education practice, and constructivism-based inclusive education practice. Behaviorism-based inclusive education practice. It focuses on how to provide instruction and on which reinforcers are effective for students with special needs in general education classrooms. Theoretically, behaviorism is one of the classical ideas, if not the oldest. As implied by the metaphor, learning as the acquisition of stimulus-response pair, behaviorism is a prevalent psychological model. Behaviorists argue that theory's goal is to transfer knowledge of reality to the learner. When consequences are connected with a stimulus or reaction, reinforcement is used to keep the stimulus or response in place. To summarize, the key behavioral principles that support education are: behavior is learned. Behavior is governed by the setting in which it occurs. Teaching does not occur without learning. Learning equates to changing behavior. Behavior is governed by what follows actions, and there must be a focus on the observable. Cognitive-based inclusive education practice. In theory, cognitivism focuses on the characteristics of one's thinking, memory, self-reflection, and drive to learn. This practice focuses on the learner's mental activities that impact responses and recognize the processes of mental planning, goal setting, and organizational techniques. Cognitive theories emphasize the need of making knowledge meaningful and assisting learners in becoming more structured and capable of relating new information to previously acquired knowledge. Furthermore, cognitivist methods highlight the relevance of mental processes in learning, such as remembering, thinking, reflection, abstraction, and metacognition, all of which are required in the learning process. As a result, cognitivist training must be built on a student's current mental structures or schema in order to be effective. And lastly is the constructivism-based inclusive education practice. Theoretically, constructivism focuses on creating cognitive tools that reflect the wisdom of the culture in which they are used, as well as the insights and experience of learning. Constructivism involves a person understanding the importance of the social dimension during the learning process through observation, treatment, interpretation, and adaptation of information on building a cognitive structure. Constructivism equates to the learning that involves constructing, creating, and inventing, basically for individuals to develop their own knowledge and meaning. Constructivists believe that an understanding of the brain informs teaching. That ends our discussion about the topic philosophical views and theories of special and inclusive education. Once again, on behalf of Group 2, this is Eret Krisha B. Keta together with my group mates Aiko Once, Hogo Flovin Daniela Jane, Pedrosa Chris Vincent, and Ruiz Crystal Marie. We hope we gave some knowledge from this, and we hope you are fine and safe. Thank you for listening.